Welcome back. In your own personal life, when you think about your health, certainly most of us think about the physical condition of our bodies, our blood pressure, maybe our sugar levels, things of that sort. But then also, it's necessary for us to also consider the condition of our mental faculties. So I was looking around YouTube and ran into a video that I think is necessary to add to the conversation because we all want to live healthy, successful, and productive lives, but at times we may need some assistance with that. So let's get into the video and see what we can learn from it.
For the very first time, the woman who says she was attacked by former Seattle Seahawks player Chad Wheeler is speaking out. Last week, you may recall, Wheeler pleaded not guilty to 3 charges, including domestic violence assault. His ex-girlfriend showed up in court to face him. She says that Wheeler is still a threat to her safety. And now she's sharing her story in an exclusive interview with CBS This Morning. She spoke with our national correspondent, Jerika Duncan. Good morning to you, Jerika.
Good morning to you, Gail. Her name is Aaliyah Taylor, and it was a leaked photo of her injuries that made national headlines. Well, now she's ready to share her story. And most importantly, she wants domestic violence survivors to know they're not alone. We want to warn you, some of what you're about to see and hear is graphic.
I still have to regularly get like my concussion checked. I have bolts and a steel plate I'm going to have forever in my arm. I'm going to have to deal with this the rest of my life.
That's the reality for 27-year-old Aaliyah Taylor after she says she was attacked by her then boyfriend Chad Wheeler. Taylor says the pair dated for 6 months with barely any arguments.
We were like best friends. We did everything together. I even introduced him to my family. We would babysit my nephew together.
But according to Taylor,
So now, up until this point, I must say that it looks very normal, doesn't it?
all changed on January 22nd.
What in the world it just happened? Okay, keep going. I must say that it looks very normal, a normal interaction between a man and his significant other. But in this situation, was 6 months enough time for her to attain the level of comfort that she had with this individual? Was there something just below the surface that she needed to explore, but because of the fact that the relationship was new and emotions were running high, she chose not to see some things? Let's keep going.
Starting with a text from Wheeler that he'd shaved his head.
He just loved this long hair, refused to cut it, and it surprised me and it worried me. I came home and Chad was trying to play it off as if he just kind of cut his hair, but then as time went on throughout the day, he started going downhill emotionally.
Taylor later told police it was the beginning of a manic episode, adding she knew Wheeler suffered from bipolar disorder. Then, according to Taylor, Wheeler snapped into a dark place.
And he stood up and he told me to bow down, and I asked him why, and he didn't respond. He just told me to bow down again, and I told him no, and he immediately grabbed my neck, and that's when things began.
Do you recall what happened after that?
When he grabbed my neck, he threw me on the bed, and I remember looking up at him and asking him, "Please stop, Chad, it's me." And I just immediately knew the look in his eyes, that was it.
Taylor, who is 5'9", says that's when Wheeler, 6'7", weighing more than 300 pounds, tried to choke her. According to Taylor, she blacked out twice before the attack was over.
I had touched my face, and I looked down, and there was blood on my hand. And I remember getting up and running to the bathroom. Chad was standing by the bed, by the doorway, and he was sipping his smoothie. And was like, "Wow, you're still alive."
"Please help me now. I'm gonna die."
Taylor says she then locked herself in the bathroom, called 911, and texted her family and Wheeler's father for help. According to police reports, it took 3 officers and 2 sets of handcuffs to restrain Wheeler. Police said Wheeler kept apologizing as he was arrested. Do you think that Chad's behavior is directly connected to a mental health issue?
To be honest, I don't know. He went and ate dinner after doing this to me, and he didn't take the same approach with the cops as he did with me.
The Seahawks dropped Wheeler, saying the team strongly condemns this act of domestic violence. If convicted, Wheeler faces 8 to 12 years in prison. Last week, he pleaded not guilty to 2 domestic violence-related charges and 1 count of resisting arrest. Taylor was in the courtroom. Why was it so important for you to appear in court?
I didn't want him to think that he had that power over me, that I wasn't going to defend myself. And I thought, how easy would that be for him and his legal team to be able to say whatever they want without having to look me in the eye.
Do you think he should serve prison time for what he did to you?
Yes. Yes, I definitely do think that he should. I have to say the hardest part of all this wasn't the surgeries, it wasn't any of that. It was getting a call from my niece and nephews. They thought they had lost me. And the pain in their voice, I will never forget that. I will never forget that.
And she doesn't want her story to be forgotten either. How grateful are you to be alive?
Beyond grateful, I really feel like God has blessed me with another chance, and I want to try to use the time I've been blessed with to help other people and to get this story out and make sure people don't feel alone and that this doesn't happen again.
CBS News reached out to the attorneys for Chad Wheeler. They declined to comment on the case. Wheeler's trial is set to begin in Washington State in April. A reminder, if you need help related to domestic violence or mental health, we've posted free resources on our website, cbsnews.com. A lot of strength.
So that is the extent of the interview with Ms. Taylor. And I must say that her sentiments, they were really heartfelt. Honestly, it was kind of difficult to watch her recount that situation that she went through that was so horrendous. But in looking at the situation, there are a couple of areas that have to be addressed. We have to look at these things because, as we mentioned now, we're trying to have a productive and a happy life. So it would be necessary that anyone that you involve in your life, you take the time to find out exactly who this person may be. Now, in some of the news articles that were written, and even in the report itself, it mentions that Mr. Wheeler had he was dealing with having bipolar issues. And then the article went on also to say that for some time he had not been taking his medication. So it was known, evidently, by the family, as well as Ms. Taylor, that there was an issue that Mr. Wheeler was dealing with. Now, I'm not saying that that particular issue somehow justifies the actions that he took, because nothing justifies putting the life of another human being in jeopardy, regardless of what kind of mental state or kind of physical state a person may be in. Nothing justifies that, especially not in a situation where the person that you're harming is a person that loves you. So there's no excuse for that. But then also, this situation really speaks to the taboo of mental illness. A lot of individuals feel that mental illness is something that's secondary. It's something that doesn't have to be discussed. And this particular instance brings that to the fore. Because if you think about this situation, if Mr. Wheeler had been taking his medication, then this manic episode that he calls it would not have happened. But now you think about it. In this case, and in any case where there is a need for medication to be prescribed for an individual to help that individual to lead a more productive life, to deal with some issues that they may have mentally, is really not a single person's issue. And in every sense of the word, this needs to be an issue that's dealt with as a group. Because as a group, there will be individuals that will be involved in holding Mr. Wheeler accountable for the things that he does. There will be a plan of action in place in case things don't go the way that they should on Mr. Wheeler's part. See, it's a family effort. It's a family effort, and that's why it can't be a taboo subject. It needs to be discussed. Individuals that are coming into the situation as potential partners for the individual who has the mental condition, they need to be aware of what's going on with the individual who they may be having a relationship with. These are all things that need to be done, because if those particular issues are not put out front in the beginning, then situations can end up like what happened with Miss Taylor. The difficulties that she went through. Now, I did a little research on this particular incident, and you come to find out that twice she lost consciousness during this ordeal. And one time, according to the U.S. Sun, he took his fingers and put it down, forced it through her mouth down into her throat. And so by all intended purposes, it appears that Mr. Wheeler's intention was to take Miss Taylor's life. So when you look at a situation where a person is dealing with mental issues, the reason why a person is prescribed medication, the reason why they are put on the regimen to maintain the use of that medication is so that the issues that they have don't overcome them. You see, it's all about keeping your balance. And so that's what that medication that Mr. Wheeler failed to take was doing. It was keeping him balanced, right? And so that allowed him to have good relationship with his significant other, Miss Taylor, that allowed him to go out and play football and be productive. It allowed him to do the things in life that he enjoyed. But the moment that he failed to stick to that regimen, difficulties resulted. And so it's necessary, as was mentioned in the video, for anyone, especially during this time of the pandemic, that's going through difficulties, that's concerned about their mental health, please get some help. Get some help. Because it's not something that should be frowned upon, that a person acknowledges that they need help in any situation, and then they go and try to put themselves in a better position by getting the help that they need. Surely this was a sad situation. I wish the best for Miss Taylor, and I hope that Mr. Wheeler gets the help that he needs also. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Be easy.